Over the last few weeks, we talked about Spider-Man and barcodes and something about seasoned eggs? I don't know. You guys left some great comments, so let's see what you had to say. We are officially done with Spider-Man videos for the foreseeable future. I did not intend to do so many in a row. Lazar Lilic actually coined the term Spider-Manuary, which is something that I rather enjoy. And actually, now that I think about it, I think in 2015, the very first video I ever did in January was one about Spider-Man, so I don't know, is this a new tradition that we have? And even though the barcode episode didn't focus around Spider-Man, it did kind of revolve around a Spider-Man picture, and so DoctorTopper coined the term Webuary because that's jokes. But no, we're not actually going to be doing more Spider-Man videos for quite some time. Also in that video, I had mentioned at the beginning something along the lines of how all comic books from the very start used to have barcodes on their cover, which is just not true. In fact, barcodes themselves were not even invented or implemented the way that we know them until the early 70s, so you'll never see a Golden Age comic book with a barcode on its cover. So on the video about how Spider-Man can stick to walls, Fabrizio Cargnelutti points out Mayday Parker, which has a very different explanation for how she can stick to walls. It's more about a biomagnetic field, which is really cool because not only can she stick to things or attract things to her body, but she can also repel them like a magnet can do, which is, makes for some really cool scenarios. Also on that same video, Yahya Rajaee and a number of you point out that the story I told about how Stan Lee was inspired to create Spider-Man was wrong. I said that he saw a spider climbing on a wall and thought, yes, I'll create a Spider-Man, when really you guys said that the story you had heard was that he saw a fly on a wall and they just kind of ran through, well, fly sounds dumb, so how about spider? And I've heard that story before. It was actually in the original script that I wrote, that version of the story. But here's the thing, Stan Lee has told this story in so many different versions and variations that it just, again, lends itself to the idea that it's probably not true anyway. Like, I think focusing on the details of the story misses the biggest detail of all, which is that it's probably a lie, so why even bother worrying about it? In the video we did last week about barcodes on comic book covers and like the comic book industry, history stuff, we tackled a whole bunch of stuff, but in that video, Benjamin Abruzzo brought up some really interesting points that I had failed to mention in the video, which is, some additional perks of direct market distribution and also just some, other additional elements that go into the back issues market kind of plummeting a little bit. It's a really great comment. I encourage you to read it. It's linked in the description below, along with all of the rest of the comments. Matthew Thompson asks a question that I knew I was gonna get, and I really tried to work into the video, but I couldn't find a place for it. It didn't flow very well, which is, which copy of a comic is more valuable, a direct market version or a newsstand copy? So the ones with the barcodes or with the pictures instead. And from what I can find, it really doesn't matter. They usually collectors will treat them as the same comic book, but I have found that some people claim that the newsstand ones, the ones with the barcodes, can be more valuable under certain conditions. So if it's a direct market version, the one with the picture on it, then it'll go to a comic book shop, which usually treats their merchandise with more care. But if it's a newsstand version, the ones with the barcodes, then usually they don't really care. It's like just a piece of paper for them. They don't treat it very well, so it can be harder to find mint condition copies of specific newsstand editions of comics. If you are like a hardcore comic collector, I would actually like to know the answer to this, if you have any insight into it that I clearly don't. As you guys know me, I'm all digital comics all the way, so I don't really collect comics all that much. But yeah, if you know any more information about this, let me know in the comments. On an unrelated note, Declaration 14 asks if I'll ever do a video about the Marvel No-Prize, and I don't think I will because it's really short and probably it's not even long enough to do a tie-in over. I mean, maybe, who knows what the future holds. But I think it might be interesting to take these videos, these comment response videos, and kind of award our own NerdSync No-Prize. So these are rewards that don't mean anything at all, but I'm just gonna give them out to people who leave some really great comments on videos. For example, on the tie-in from 2 weeks ago about the joke that was played on Stan Lee and the character of Sise-Neg being the actual god, I had asked you guys to go over to Orum's channel, to his latest video, and comment Sise-Neg without any context other than that, and so many of you actually did that. He has like 800 comments on that video right now, so majority of them just say Sise-Neg, and you guys are amazing. Out of those 800 comments, he says that he thinks at least 500 of them are just Sise-Neg, which makes me smile. I would wager that it's probably closer to 700, but that's just me. So to all of you wonderful nerds who participated in that, I want to give you the very first NerdSync No-Prize. Each one of you has earned it. You're fantastic. But I especially want to give one to Don Masters, who was the very first of many to point out that Sise-Neg backwards is actually Genesis, which is something that I feel so dumb for not even realizing. Lastly, we've been getting a lot of fan art in lately, so I wanted to showcase some of that on this show, starting with a couple of them today. We got Lazar Lilic, once again, who drew me as Cyborg, which looks fantastic. And we also have one from Kei Sato, who drew myself, Bryce, and Chris from the NerdSync podcast, and it also looks spectacular. I think Chris actually made that his profile picture, so good job. If you have your own fan art of NerdSync that you want to send in, you can do so on Twitter. We're just at NerdSync. We'd love to feature you on the show because you guys are so crazy talented. And don't forget to send in your submissions for the 100th episode of Comic Misconceptions. The deadline is February 20th. We already have so many of them, and they're all great. You guys are great. I love you. You're the best. And if you missed out on some of the videos from the past 2 weeks here at NerdSync, you can watch this one all about the science behind how Spider-Man can stick to walls. Or you can check out this one exploring why certain comic book covers have a picture of Spider-Man on them where the barcode should be. There's some fascinating comic book history behind that. It's even got an appearance from another comic book YouTuber in it. What more could you ask for? And if this is your first time hanging out with us here at NerdSync, please hit that big sexy subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the new videos that we make for you every week that explore the history, science, philosophy, and art behind comic book superheroes. It's always good stuff. It's fun. It's mandatory fun. I'm Scott, and I'll see you on Wednesday for another episode of Comic Misconceptions. See ya.